In Chapter 9, we're going to solve quadratics using various methods. The first method is a method we learned in Chapter 7, and that's going to be solved by factoring. Okay, remember when you solve by factoring, you want to put the equation in standard form, meaning it has to equal 0, and it goes from highest degree term to lowest degree term. Then we factor it, and then we solve using the zero product property. Okay, so let's go ahead and try the first one. Okay, let's see. It is equaling 0. It goes from highest degree or highest exponent to lowest exponent, so I'm going to go ahead and factor it. There is no common factor, so I can go straight to this step. Since it's x to the second, I know it's going to be x times x. Okay, let me think of what I multiply to get 24. Okay, it could be, what could it be? 6 times 4, 8 times 3. And of course, you're doing this in your head. You don't have to necessarily write it. But the correct factors are the ones that add up to 10, which means it's going to be positive 6 and positive 4. Okay, zero product property says we can make each of these factors equal to 0. But as many of you have figured out, you can do this step in your head, and I'm okay with you doing it in your head now. Now, if we put x plus 6 equal to 0, we minus 6 on both sides, which means our answer is going to be x equals minus 6. If I plug minus 6 in, minus 6 plus 6 is 0, which makes sense. Okay, for the second factor, if I were to set this equal to 0, I would minus 4 on both sides, and 0 minus 4 would give me negative 4. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and try the second one. Let's see. Is it in standard form? It does equal 0. It is highest exponent to lowest exponent, so I'm going to go ahead and try to factor it. Since it's x squared, I can do the factoring in my head. X times x. Now to get negative 18, that could be 6 times negative 3. It could be 9 times negative 2, but they have to be the ones that add up to positive 3. So it must be 6 and 3. So positive 6, negative 3. Okay, now I'm factored. Now I'm going to solve it using the zero product property. And if you want to try to do it in your head, you can. So this is x plus 6 equals 0. So to solve it, I would minus 6 on both sides, and I would get x equals negative 6. And then for my second answer, I would add 3 on both sides. 0 plus 3 is 3, and I would get x equals 3. Okay, go ahead and try number 3 on your own. Pause the video, and then I'll jump back in for number 4. Okay, go ahead and check your answer for number 3. You should have had x minus 7 times x minus 3 equals 0, and your answers were x equals 7 and x equals 3, and the order doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to jump back in for 4, because for number 4, the equation's not in standard form. This should be a 0, and it's not a 0. In order to make it a 0, I could subtract 3 here. That'll give me a 0. If I subtract 3 from the right side, I need to subtract it from the left side, and I need to do it under the like terms. So I can't subtract 3 from this because this is x squared. I can't subtract 3 from this because this has an x. I can subtract 3 from this, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, let me bring down my new equation. I have x squared plus 10x. If I do 19 minus 3, I get positive 16, and now it equals to 0. Okay, now we're in standard form, so now I'm going to go ahead and factor it just like we were doing before. Because it's x to the second, I can do it in my head. 16 could be 4 times 4, but 4 plus 4 is not 10. How about 8 times 2? Yeah, it's 8 times 2. Okay, and then remember, if I solve this in my head, I'm subtracting 8, so I get x equals negative 8. And I get x equals negative 2. And the order doesn't matter as long as you got the same 2 answers. Okay, try number 5. Pause the video and then check your answer. Okay, check your answer for number 5. I moved it to standard form, factored it, and my final answers were x are negative 4 and x are 2. Okay, 6. I'm going to go ahead and do this one too. Is it in standard form? No, there's not a 0 on that side. Since that's a minus 8, to make it a 0, I'm going to add 8. And again, I'm going to line it up under the like terms. Okay, let me bring down the rest of my equation. 22 plus 8 is positive 30, and it equals 0 now. And now I can factor it. Since it's x squared, I should be able to do this in my head. Okay, to get 36 times 5, but 6 plus 5 is not 13. 3 times 10 is 13. Adds up to 13, but since it's a minus 13, I'll make it minus. Minus, and then when I solve this, I add 3, so I get positive 3. And I add 10, I get positive 10. Okay, I'm gonna go over number 7 with you. And then I'm gonna have you do the rest of the practice on your own, and then you'll check your answers at the end. Okay, now 7 is definitely not in standard form. I have a lot of things on the right side that I don't want to be there. Okay, so first thing I don't want to be there is this 3x. So to cancel a positive 3x, I'm going to subtract 3x. Now I have to subtract 3x from the left side, but I need to do it under the like terms. X squared is not a like term, but 10x is a like term, so I'm going to subtract 3x from the 10x's. Okay, now I still have the plus 1, which I don't like, so I'm going to subtract 1 from this side. If I do it, I'm going to line it up under the like terms, and then I'll bring down my equation. So I have x to the second. 10x minus 3x is going to give me 7x. 11 minus 1 is going to give me 10. 3x minus 3x is nothing. 1 minus 1 is nothing, so I have a 0 here. So now we're in standard form, which we love because we can factor it. Because it's x squared, I can do it in my head. So x times x. For 10, that's got to be 5 and 2 because that adds up to 7, and it's positive. So my answers are x equals -5 and x equals -2. Okay, go ahead and try the rest of the practice problems. The answers are at the bottom, and you can check the calendar for the solutions with the work when you're done.